We're ready to start the meeting, the business meeting of the February 24th of City Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please do roll call?
Jerry DiTullio.
Here.
Bud Starker.
Present.
Zachary Urban.
Present.
Christy Davis. Tim Fitzgerald.
Here.
George Pond.
Present.
Tracy Langworthy. Genevieve Wooden.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The minutes are pre-distributed. Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, we can move on. They would be approved as read or as distributed. Any proclamations and ceremonies tonight? We appear to have none. Citizens' right to speak. Citizens who wish to may speak on any matter not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes and sign up the public comment roster. And we do have a familiar sight. Do you want to give your name and address?
It's Davis Reinhardt, Reinhart, 2690 Pierce Street, and I swear to God I'm not here to talk about 38th Avenue. But I do want to start there because one of the things that came up in the recent dialogue that I think is important for the city that I really just wanted to come here and emphasize, and people have invested in 38th Avenue in part because the city has chosen to make that their program, and there are people that are very upset. It's been a divisive issue because they haven't been pleased with the way the city's gone about that issue. But what I focused on when I listened to the debate a couple weeks ago was that the dialogue had boiled down to, not to minimize, I believe it was $40,000 of additional engineering and study fees. And regardless of the rightness of that, I think that illustrates a real problem in the city that I urge you not to ignore. And that is, I think that people from both sides of the issue would have, of the specific issue of 38th Avenue as it's designed today, would have liked to have seen investment in the corridor. And the way I understand the facts of the matter, the city doesn't have the capacity within its current budget to do so. I think that that the evidence supports that there's a systemic shortfall in the budget. And I don't think that issue is about whether we replace our police cars at 110,000 miles or 120,000 miles. And I don't think that shortfall is about whether our government and our employees have been bloated out of proportion. We have the same core staff number we did 20 years. And I don't think our citizens are that this is about overtaxation of our citizens today because we have the lowest property and sales taxes in the region. That's just a fact. What I think this is about is that the city's been in slow decline for 20 years. We have an aging infrastructure that probably doesn't meet current standards. I believe the number is something around $5 million in deferred maintenance on roads alone. I think that it's a core function of government and much less we don't have the ability to do what we ought to do for maintenance, much less move forward. So what I'm here to ask council to do, let me take a half step back. The citizens of this state have made the decision that they want to decide for themselves whether there should be more revenue in their political system through the Tabor thing. And this community, I think, through that process, has a decision to make, whether they're going to deal with what I think is a slow and arguably tolerable decline in the infrastructure and the conditions and maybe services, or whether they want to try and reinvest in themselves for a better, broader future. And that decision needs to be made by the citizens because of the Tabor Amendment. And they were denied that opportunity at the end of that last cycle by mayoral fiat. And what I would do is urge this council to bring forward a Tabor Amendment today where there's enough time for the issue to be studied in a long-term, rational way over a period of months so that the community can rationally decide if it wants to move forward and reinvest in itself or if it's comfortable with the level of investment it has in its community. So I would urge this council to move forward with the Tabor Amendment now so it has time for the community to study before it decides for itself in the fall. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Okay. the agenda, are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'm going to make a request that the council convene a brief executive session at the end of the meeting, just prior to adjournment and after elected officials matters, to take legal advice concerning the 32nd Avenue construction contracts. I've given Councilmember Davis the appropriate motion.
Okay.
And at that time in the agenda, if you could ask Councilmember Davis after elected officials matters for that motion, she'll make the motion and we can do that executive session.
All right, so the only change in the agenda is before we close the meeting, we will have a motion to move to executive council. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Thanks.
Okay, we're good. Moving on to the consent agenda, Ms. Wooten?
For the consent agenda, item 1A is a motion to approve payment of the sales tax increment sharebacks for January of fiscal year 2014 from the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority Town Center Project in the amount of $41,944.23 to Renewal Wheat Ridge. Item 1B, Resolution 17-2014, amending the fiscal year 2013 Crime Prevention Code Enforcement Fund 63 budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $23,311 to fund increased expenditures as a result of implementation of the new compensation plan. Item 1C, Resolution 16-2014, amending the fiscal year 2013 budget to reflect the approval of increased available beginning fund balances in certain funds. And item 1D, Resolution 15-2014, approving the purchase of a replacement police patrol sedan with all required equipment, lighting, and markings, amending the fiscal year 2014 Public Works Operations budget, and approving a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $48,753.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for consent agenda 1A, B, C, and D?
Motion is in order. You move to approve?
I move to approve all these items.
Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. I did it right. Please poll the council. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, is there discussion on any of the items? No? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Let's move on to decisions, resolutions, and motions. Ms. Davis?
Thank you. A motion to ratify mayoral appointments to Renewal Wheat Ridge, term to expire November 30th, 2014. Is that right? November 30th, 2014?
Comes up pretty fast, doesn't it? That doesn't make,
So is that right? The 2014?
this must be a
That
replacement.
just ran through my head for a minute and. Is this still filling Loretta's? Okay, so then at the end of this time, we can renew there, okay. The issue at hand is that there is a vacancy for Renewal Wheat Ridge, and this vacancy is appointed by the mayor and ratified by city council. There's one opening in District 3 as Loretta Tiro resigned effective August 31st, 2013. Mayor Jay and I had the opportunity to meet with the one applicant. The other applicant withdrew his application, and I feel that they'll be an asset to the committee. Is there a motion in order?
Please?
I move to ratify District 3 mayoral appointment of Tim Rogers to Renewal Wheat Ridge, term to expire November 30th, 2014.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Pond. So moved and seconded. Please, is there any discussion? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Ms. Langworthy, item number 3.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to ratify a mayoral reappointment of Chad Hart of the Housing Authority representing District 2, term to expire March 2nd, 2019. The members of the Housing Authority are appointed by the mayor and ratified by City Council. Chad Hart was appointed to fill the vacant District 2 seat in January of 2014. The seat was set to expire March 2nd, 2014, but it was necessary to have him appointed in January so the Housing Authority can continue to conduct business. Mr. Har has reapplied to the seat he currently holds. Is a motion in order?
Yes, please.
I move to ratify the mayoral reappointment of Chad Har to the Housing Authority representing District 2, term to expire March 2nd, 2019.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Davis and Ms. Wooden. Please poll the council, or is there any discussion? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Item number 4, Mr. Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item number 4 is a motion to approve appointments to the boards and commissions. At issue, boards and commission vacancies were advertised in the Wheat Ridge Transcript, Channel 8, and the city's website. Current members were contacted by mail and asked if they wanted to serve another term. Applications were received and compiled by the clerk's office with notification to council on the status. Are motions for District 1 in order?
Yes, please.
And at the request of Mr. DiTullio, he's asked that we do these individually. For the Building Code Advisory Board, I nominate Karen Berry.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Langworthy.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment.
Mr. Tully,
In order to get some new folks involved in our city, I'd like to move to amend by striking Karen Berry and inserting Nathan Hoppy.
Okay. Is there a second on the amendment? Second. Seconded by Mr. Urban. Do we have discussion?
Madam Mayor, it's my hope that Mr. Hoppy can join us as the Building Code Advisory member from the at-large position.
Okay. Then, is there any other discussion? Then let's poll the council on the amendment, which is to replace the name Karen Berry to Nathan Hoppy. Please poll the council on that. So if you vote yes, by voting yes on the amendment, you are saying yes, you would like to switch from Karen Berry to Nathan Hoppy. To vote no would be, no, let's see, how do we do that? Yeah, that would be correct. Yes. So please poll the council.
Motion fails 2-6 with council members Wooden, Langworthy, Fitzgerald, Pond, Davis, and Starker voting no.
Okay, can we then go back to the main motion, which is to appoint Karen Berry to the Building Code Advisory Board?
And Madam Mayor, can I confirm that that was for a term ending 3/2/2017? I didn't hear that in the motion, but typically we include the term ending in the
In
motion.
there.
Thank
I
you.
will amend the motion to include the date, term ending March 2nd, 2017.
Thank you.
Is there a second on that? Well, we have a second, don't we? Yes. We need to poll the council on that one.
I thought I did. Okay, please revote. Motion carries 7-1 with Councilmember DiTullio voting no.
Okay, let's move on then.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to enter the name of Diane Robb for the Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2017.
Do I have
Second.
a second? Mr. DiTullio, seconded on that one? Can we just go ahead and poll the council if there's no discussion?
Motion carries 8-0.
Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to nominate B. Slingsby to the position of Animal Welfare Control Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2015.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Ms. Langworthy seconded that motion.
Madam Mayor. In an effort to get some new folks involved in our boards and commissions, and B has served in the past gracefully, I move to amend by striking B. Slingsby and inserting Brittany Fitzsimmons.
It's been asked, a motion to amend, to insert Brittany Fitzsimmons?
Yes.
Is that what it was? Instead of B. Singsley, Do I have a second on that motion, on that amendment?
Second.
I have a second on the amendment. Please poll the council, unless, is there further discussion? Wait, we have discussion.
Thank you. I just have a question as far as, so I know that Brittany, or Miss Fitzsimmons, has applied also for Parks and Recreation. Has she sent in I guess we have all the applications and I don't see that she's interested in more than one. Is that,
I talked to her, she was.
So Miss Brittany is interested
Ms.
in,
Fitzsimmons is interested in
either and
animal
or.
control or Parks and Recreation.
okay? Mr. George? Mr. Pond?
Mr. George is fine.
George? I love this.
I appreciate the amendments. However, it's in these cases, not only do I think that question needs to be answered, but perhaps what the status is of the current applicant, and whether or not the other council member in the district has any information or on that. Obviously, this is kind of a district decision. It's hard to
Madam Mayor.
know, hard to vote when it's split.
Madam Mayor. To answer your question, Bee Slingsby is a longtime resident of District 1. She served on the Animal Welfare and Control Commission when I was on council the first time and did a great job. My only point is I'm trying to get some new folks involved in our city. Brittany has lived in the city 5 years. She has 2 young children, and she was interested in serving the city in some capacity. That's why I'm bringing it up. There's nothing against Ms. Slingsby.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Mr. DiTullio and I had spoken about this earlier before the meeting, and I had hoped that Ms. Fitzsimmons might want to, we have some open seats, at-large seats in the Board of Adjustment. Mr. DiTullio informs me that Ms. Fitzsimmons is not interested in that seat.
okay. All right, it's time to vote on the amendment unless we have more discussion. All right, what you're voting on, vote yes if you want to replace Brittany Fitzsimmons for B. Slingsby
Slingsby.
to the Animal Welfare Commission, term ending 3/2/15. Poll the council, please.
The motion is the vote is 4-4, Madam Mayor.
The chair will vote no.
The mayor votes no, and the motion fails.
Right. So we need to go back
Oh.
to the original.
Wait. I didn't. Who are the people who voted no?
We were voting on the
Who are the people
change,
that
the
voted no? I
amendment.
didn't write that down and I didn't speak it.
Oh, okay.
The amendment to do Fitzsimmons. Who voted no on Fitzsimmons? Okay, Starker, Davis. Who else? Tim. I apologize for this. And who else?
So that was a no vote on the
Yeah,
amendment.
there was one more.
Right. Well,
no, Starker, no Pond. Mr. George.
Davis, Urban, Starker,
Starker, Fitzgerald.
were the no votes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I went too quickly and erased my evidence.
okay. So now let's get back to the original motion, which was a movement. Let's see, Mr. Starker, I believe you moved to appoint B. Singsley to the Animal Control, what is it? Slingsby to the Animal Welfare Commission, term ending 3/2/15. So we're voting on that motion now.
Motion carries 7-1 with Mr. DiTullio voting no.
Okay. And the last one?
Madam Mayor, from District 1, I'm pleased to nominate Tara John to the Parks and Recreation Commission, term to expire March the 2nd of 2016.
Second.
Second? I'm just waiting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Davis
Madam Mayor.
and Mr. DiTullio.
And in order to bring some new folks into District 1 for boards and commissions, I move to amend by striking Tara John and inserting Brittany Fitzsimmons.
Second.
It's an amendment has been made, moved and seconded. We're amending it to strike Tara John and replacing it with Brittany Fitzsimmons. So we're voting on the amendment, yes or no? Please poll the council.
Motion fails 2-6 with council members Wooden, Langworthy, Fitzgerald, Pond, Davis, and Starker voting no.
Okay. That completes District 1.
Okay, gotta go to the.
Oh, we have to go back to the Tara John, to the original one?
Promise District 2.
All right, please go back to the original motion, which was Tara John. We're going back to the original motion. To the Parks and Recreation Commission, term ending 3/2/16. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 7-1 with councilmember DiTullio voting no.
All right, any other motions? Then we can go on to District 2. District 2 will be done by Zach Urban, Councilmember Urban.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to appoint Lily Gregor to the Board of Adjustments, term ending 3/2/17. I move to appoint Jill Shannon to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/15. I move to appoint Millie Nadler to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/17. I move to appoint Patricia Ennis to the Parks and Recreation Commission, term ending 3/2/17. I move to appoint Steve Timmons to the Planning Commission, term ending 3/2/17.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
that group? Thank you, seconded by Ms. Davis. Poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
District Pond, District 3, Mr. Pond.
District Pond, it just gets better. I move to appoint Virginia Petty to the Animal Welfare Commission, term ending 3/2/17. Move to appoint Tom Abbott to the Board of Adjustment, term ending 3/2/17. Move to appoint Michael Elo to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/15. Appoint David Belezzo to the Cultural Commission, term ended 3/2/17. Appoint Kathy Kones to the Parks and Recreation Commission, term ending 3/2/17. And Emery Dorsey to the Planning Commission, term ending 3/2/16.
May I have a second on those motions?
I second them.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Let's poll the council.
Madam Mayor,
I have one question first.
I have a question too.
What, in the motion, who did you nominate for the second animal welfare?
I did
There
not.
was none.
Who?
No one.
Discussion, please.
Madam Mayor. I guess my question would be, since we had the situation in District 1, if you all have any possible folks considering the Animal Welfare Commission, or if you could place Brittany Fitzsimmons in your district, since we have a second applicant.
Yeah, I
I know
have.
I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but
You are.
sorry.
It's okay. And I would open this up to discussion, but I'll tell you why I don't want to do it. If you recall, when we last talked about the Animal Welfare Commission, we noticed that the commission does not have its allocation of veterinarians on the commission unless and maybe I am wrong, maybe there is a District 1 veterinarian who would like to be on this, but I feel like I'd rather, because we didn't have an applicant, and I said at that study session that I was actually going to try to reach out and fill it with a veterinarian, which I will be honest, I have not done yet. I have not found that. That would be my preference. But that's my opinion. I'm willing to open it up for discussion.
Mr. DiTullio?
Well, talking to Brittany, I think that would be, I asked Mr. Pond earlier about appointing Ms. Fitzsimmons to the Animal Control Commission to District 3, and I think that, well, you know, she's willing to get her foot in the door and work with any board or commission within parks or, you know, animal control that would get her foot in the door and get some experience. So I don't think that, and she'd be a District 3 appointment, so at some point, if you did get a veterinarian, you know, she'd have to step down or move on anyway. So I would really encourage District 3 to go ahead and put her on for District 3 and then cross that bridge when we come to it when we need to get a veterinarian, because I think she can bring a new perspective and a new face to that board. And I know they're in need of new faces and new information.
Under the conditions that if we find a District 3 veterinarian representative, that we would be able to make, you know, to move on that. If that was understood, I would be willing to put that in, but I'd be interested in the other councilman in the district and what his opinion is.
Yeah, it seems kind of awkward that it could be a very awkward situation if we suddenly ask somebody to step down. I think it's better just to wait until we find a veterinarian, and George is actively looking. I think we'll find one soon, so I think I would rather just leave it blank at the moment.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Urban?
I think that having a willing citizen eager to volunteer on this particular board is an asset to the city that we should capitalize on, and we should engage that citizen in this position rather than waiting for someone who hasn't volunteered and has to be asked to serve ahead of that. So I would encourage voting for her to be appointed to this position simply out of her eagerness to volunteer and give back to the city, and we want to encourage that of our residents. So as much as I would value the expertise of a veterinarian on this board, this has been published. We haven't received any interest as of yet, but I would expect that any member of that board would see the value of having a veterinarian on the board, and that could be a discussion at that time once that person has been identified, because we still haven't identified who that veterinarian would be.
If we could just vote, call the question on this one, I'll make the separate motion.
Okay, so we're going to vote on this, on District 3 appointments in general, and then we're going to go to an amendment.
As read, without this,
any changes.
I'll read in another one.
Okay. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
I move to appoint Brittany Fitzsimmons to the Animal Welfare Commission, term ending 3/2/17.
Discussion?
This is more
Mr.
of a,
DiTullio seconded.
this is more of a question. Does the animal control have an at-large position? Do they have those?
Pardon me, I can answer that. The Animal Control Commission has 2 ex officio members, and the way the code reads is that besides just the regular district members who need not be veterinarians, they're just district members, district residents like any other commission. But the code goes on to say the city council will appoint 2 ex officio members who are licensed veterinarians that maintain a practice within the city, but need not be residents of the city in order to provide professional or technical advice to the commission. So that's the sort of at-large position. It's not your typical at-large position, because it actually it can be someone that is not a resident of the city, but as the code reads, they have to maintain their veterinary practice within the city.
So based on that information, this works out because the 2 ex officio members could later be the 2 veterinarians if Mr. Pond finds somebody, and then in the meantime, Brittany can serve on District 3 as a valid member.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Paul Hovland to the Board of Adjustment, term ending 3/2/17. Deborah Boldig to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/17. Sandra Hagovic to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/15. Christine Terras, I apologize for not being able to pronounce her last name. Term ending 3/2/17. Liz Veeder to the Parks and Recreation Commission, term ending 3/2/17. I'm leaving the last one blank, thank you.
Second. Second.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to point out to all of the council people that when this application process takes place, there are deadlines to be met, and we ask people to turn in their applications by a certain time, and they do that. And as of right now, we do have an applicant for the Planning Commission for District 4, and it's time to appoint people, and we're not appointing someone. And it's kind of rude. I just wanted to point that out.
We've chosen.
Because in the past, you have to get your application in by a certain deadline. And we have an applicant who got his application in a long time ago. And he's not being appointed. It's kind of not fair, generally speaking. I just wanted to throw that in.
Madam Mayor, the name that we may be looking for is Christine Taraskowitz.
Is appointed. I did move to appoint her.
Right, I was just gonna
Oh,
verbalize
thank
the
you.
name for the record.
Thank you. At this time, I do appreciate that John Mays did turn in an application, but it wasn't an applicant that we have decided that we wanted to move forward with. So even though we have received one, it's not always, maybe it's not always a fit for us yet, and that is a decision of both myself and Genevieve Wooden.
Motion carries 8-0.
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor, I would like to move to nominate Nathan Hoppy to the Building Code Advisory Board at large, term ending March 2nd, 2017.
Second.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to, we have an applicant, Dan Bradford. He applied for the Building Code Advisory Board last term and was skipped over. And one more in a way to get effort to get some new folks involved. I'd like to move to amend by striking Nathan Hoppy and inserting Dan Bradford.
I'll second that.
Amen. I'd like to address the reason why I'm bringing up Dan Bradford. He's a longtime resident of District 1. Plus, he actually is a building code inspector in the city of Westminster. So that expertise would be great on the Building Code Advisory Board. Plus, we'd be bringing a new person that is lived in the city for a while. But he's also an inspector for Westminster.
Madam Mayor. I know you and I talked earlier this weekend about 3 applicants and the possibility of them coming tonight and speaking. And I was just wondering if any of these 3 applicants were here tonight that could speak, because I'm just going off of sheet of paper, and I'd be thankful if I could meet you all.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, there is, one of the applicants is here tonight. Mike?
So,
Oh, do we have two of them here? All right.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to speak? Please stand. And
Maybe
I guess
come
we
up.
could have it come to the, come on forward.
she emailed all three of them.
Good evening. My name's Nathan Hoppy. I live at 7000 West 35th Avenue. I own Compass Construction, which is located right in Wheat Ridge on 38th Avenue. We purchased that building probably maybe 4 years ago, I believe, something like that. And we became a part of the city in a lot of ways with my wife on some of the boards and actively being in a lot of the city, just, involved. We chose not long after we bought that building to actually move our residence here as well. We are very much involved in Wheat Ridge. My life is building. That's what I do. Obviously, I'm a licensed contractor in Denver and Aurora and Boulder, plus probably 15 other jurisdictions that don't require quite as stringent a testing. Have the ICC, which is the standard for construction, your testing licensing. My daily life is everything from commercial to residential construction, with a full team behind us. We're local. I'm very interested in this board. I think it would be I'd be a great asset to the community to be a part of this board. I appreciate just being a part of all the issues and understanding them and giving a realistic feedback as much as we can and asking the pertinent questions. So I would very much appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Any questions of Mr. Hoppy? Do we have another candidate here tonight?
Good evening. My name is Mike Griffith, and I'm on 8833 West 32nd Place.
Could you spell your last name, please, for the clerk?
Yes, Griffeth.
Thank you.
I am a structural engineer. I operate a business out of my home. I've lived in Wheat Ridge 5.5 years, and I'd like to serve on this board. I think I'd be a great asset as well. I have every building code since 1996 sitting on my shelf. I look at it every day. I make interpretations about the code every day. Doesn't mean I'm an expert. I don't know if anyone is on a book that's thousands of pages long, but I definitely have experience with it, and I'd be happy to serve. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay too, but I'm happy to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Mayor, did you send an email or how did you notify the three candidates that they were allowed to speak tonight?
I sent them an email.
All three
All
candidates?
three. Right.
Well, we have mine, my Dan
We have an
Bradford.
amendment. We have an amendment. All right, if there's no further discussion, let's vote on the amendment, which is to strike Mr. Hoppy's name, I believe, and add Mr. Bradford's instead. Could we please vote on that amendment? This is to strike Mr. Hoppy's name and add and replace it with Mr. Bradford.
Motion. All right.
Poll the council.
Should have known better than that.
Did you have a problem there? We're good?
Motion fails 2-6 with council members Wooten, Langworthy, Fitzgerald, Pond, Davis, and Starker voting no.
Madam Mayor?
All right, now let's go back to the original motion. Well,
Well, in an effort
you
to...
want another amendment?
Yes, in an effort to increase our participation from the community, I moved to strike, moved to amend by striking Nathan Hoppy and inserting Mike Griffith.
An amendment's been offered. Can I have a second on that amendment?
Second.
Mr. Fitzpatrick? Fitzgerald? Which one? Fitzgerald. Mr. Fitzgerald has seconded the motion, the amendment. Any discussion on that amendment?
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Tucker?
Do we have, can our staff provide us with the current listing and professional designations of the Building Code Advisory Board that's currently constituted?
I'm sorry, I don't have that with me. I do recall, though, from talking to staff several months ago that I know we were lacking somebody with the expertise in I believe, mechanical engineering. And I believe we have Mr., let's see, is Philip, do you know, Janelle?
I didn't bring it with me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Strucker, I don't have that list. Something we can do and bring it back if you'd like.
Ms. Berry is still on the board, right? She was reappointed. She's a professional engineer.
Correct.
Mr. Abo is still on the board.
Yes,
And he's a registered architect.
Correct.
Do you recall the other members of the board?
I could look it up on my little iPad.
Oh, you guys are good.
Hold one moment. Oh, he's got it. Oh, George has beat me to it.
George have it.
Assuming that the website is up to date, Karen Berry, Philip Plummer, District 2 Representative, Ron Abo, District 3, John Kello, District 4.
Mr. Plummer's an electrical engineer.
And who is the Mr. Keller?
Kello.
Hello. Do you know if he's a registered engineer?
I don't, sir.
So we're at any, Mr. Starker still have discussion?
I'm sure that Mr. Griffith would make a great candidate. I believe that a contractor brings a special view of building code issues that is necessary on the board. That's different than the qualifications of a professional engineer or a registered architect.
Any further discussion? Okay, we're ready to vote on the amendment, which is to strike Mr. Hoppy's name and replace it with Mr. Griffith's name. We're voting on the amendment now. Please poll the council.
Motion fails 2-6 with council members Wooden, Langworthy, Pond, Davis, Urban, and Starker voting no.
Okay, let's return to the original motion then, which is to appoint Mr. Hoppy to the Building Code Advisory Board, term ending 3/2/17. I had a second on that, and I need a vote. Please poll the council.
Okay. I'm missing some. Motion carries 7-1 with Mr. DiTullio voting no.
Any additional amendment or motions to the floor since we have,
Madam Mayor,
yes, Mr. Urban?
I move to appoint Mr. Larry Richmond to the Board of Adjustments at alternative at-large position, term ending 3/2/17.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Tullio has seconded that motion, which is to appoint Mr. Larry Richmond to the Board of Adjustment alternative, term ending 3/2/17. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
I don't think it's clear.
Oh, can you clear the board?
Motion carries 8-0.
I believe we're through with the,
Yeah, there's a second board of, I move to appoint Michael Griffith to the Board of Adjustment alternate term ending 3/2/17, the second one.
Second.
Mr. Michael Griffith has been nominated. Is Mr. Griffith still with us?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll second.
We have a second. I would like to make sure that Mr. Griffith is interested in that position. You've been nominated to the Board of Adjustment as an alternate. Is this the 3/2/17 one?
Yeah, it's an at-large.
This is an at-large position. The Board of Adjustment alternate. At-large.
Well, it says alternate.
It says alternate on the,
I meant to say, I'm sorry.
It too, but that's what it said on there, so.
That's what it says.
That's what it says there.
okay.
Is it alternate or at large?
They're both, isn't it?
I'll defer to Bruce's judgment, whatever he put there, if it says that large.
That happens to coincide with the website as well.
So we have an alternate at-large position? Is that correct?
I guess what's the definition?
Michael, I will read the overview for you. The Board of Adjustment interprets and decides requests for variances and waivers to the development standards in the Zoning and Development Code, temporary permits, and floodplain regulations.
We have an affirmative nod. We have a second. Didn't we have a second? Mr. DiTullio seconded. Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Urban.
The appointment that we just made with Mr. Larry Richmond, is that serving as a at-large member, or is that serving as an alternate member?
Yeah, that's the question.
According to the sheet that City Clerk's Office put together, attachment 2, it looks like that's also an alternate position. There's 3 vacant alternate positions, 1 with the term ending in 2015 and 2 in 2017.
So that's the only positions that are available, correct?
Alternates.
Right. Okay, so we're voting on movement to appoint Mr. Michael Griffith to the Board of Adjustment. This is an at-large position, alternate, term ending 3/2/17. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
I believe we are now complete with all the appointments.
Alternate.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much to all of you who did apply, and congratulations on your new title and your help for the community. And we can now move on to, we'll go through the managers and then we have another motion. We're done with the meeting. City managers matters.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have anything this evening.
I'll do that. City attorney,
Nothing tonight, thank you.
city treasurer, Mr. Schultz, nothing. City clerk,
I do have 2 real quick things. I wanted to tell the council that the city has been approached by the county to have an outdoor 24-hour ballot box in place for next November. The county will pay for the whole thing. The problem is deciding on location. We had a meeting with a representative from the county, Bruce, myself, and Joyce Manwaring is taking the lead on that with Parks and Rec for facilities, and Heather Geyer was there, and I just thought you folks should know that there's a consideration that might happen. The county's required to have a certain number of these ballot boxes in place, and one of the things we asked them was, could it be they wanted to put it at City Hall. Ms. Manwaring and my thought too was concerned with aesthetics, because it is a park. It has to have a camera on it. A 24-hour video camera. But we're going to see if they will do something that can be brought in, screwed down, in place, and then when the election's over, removed. So it doesn't just sit there all year long. But that's sort of in the hopper right now. And I also received Mr. Goff, I'm going to need to talk to you about this. We had a request from the county to make the City Hall chambers a polling place next November for the November election. And it would require the use of the chambers for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday to deliver and set up, Tuesday election day, Wednesday take down, which would kind of necessitate, at least for the use of this room, cancellation of the your Monday night meeting that day. So Mr. Goff and I will talk about it. He's been out of town or out of the office, and but I wanted you folks to know that that's going on as well. So that's all.
Okay, let's move on to elected officials matters, the council. Genevieve, you want to begin?
Yes, I just want to remind everyone that this Wednesday is the Live Local Harvest Food and Film Series. It's a potluck and movie or film at the Active Adult Center, and it's this Wednesday at 6:30.
Thank you, Ms. Langdon.
Thank
Forget your name yet.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a quick kind of an announcement. The City Council approved $3,000 for Kite Flight Festival in Wheat Ridge. And what we have done with part of that, or part of the initiative of that festival, was more than just doing kite flying. It was really getting out in the community. So last Tuesday, 3 of our board members went to Wheat Ridge 5-8 and spent a whole day teaching students the art of kite flying, the history behind it. Maki DeLate came in and she wore some Japanese attire and taught them some words in Japanese, and we had another gentleman who taught them how to fly, the aerodynamics and the science behind it, and they decorated their pieces. So we're really looking forward to seeing what those kids have created, and we'll have some judging on them. And then they'll get, the top winners will get a nice kite in exchange, so.
Great. Mr. Fitzgerald.
I would like to note the passing of Jan Lindgren, who's was a resident of District 3. She's a longtime Wheat Ridge restaurant resident, and she was very active in the active adult center and with children. She's also the mother of Cheryl Brungart, who many people know, who's also very active in Wheat Ridge. She died at the Collier Hospice.
Mr. Pond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to just thank everyone who applied for the board and commissions. It's these are hard choices as we go through them, and I want to obviously congratulate the people who were appointed tonight, and I look forward to their service to the community. But I also want to make sure that everyone understands that there's plenty of opportunities to get engaged in our community, and if you are interested and you don't know what I'm talking about, please contact us and or me, and I will absolutely talk to you about what great opportunities are to participate in the community. Thank you.
Ms. Davis.
I just wanted to mirror Mr. Pond's comments as far as thanking everybody for their applications and to the boards and commissions and congratulating them. And I also wanted to comment that recently we went to a Smart Growth Conference, and there was a lot of neat information which I hope to bring to City Council some cool things, and I wanted to thank the city for making that possible for us to go and get some new innovative ideas on ways to make things work in our city.
Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one thing real quick. For those of you that use Facebook, there's a great group called the Wheat Ridge Neighbors, which is made up of people in Wheat Ridge that are on Facebook. So if you happen to check it out, it's a great group to belong to. People ask questions about where to find a particular referral for a business, and talk about different events that are going on in Wheat Ridge, and just a great way to get involved and get connected to what's going on in your neighborhood. And right now there's only about 150 people on it, and we'd like to see if we can get some more people to participate in that group and give us a way to connect with everybody as much as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Starker.
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
And Mr. Getulio.
I just wanted to thank the businesses who've been allowing some students to job shadow in the city of Wheat Ridge, and I wanted to thank the IT department, Mr. Goff and Mike Sankey, for allowing some students to come over last week to shadow the IT department. And I want to thank Mr. Pond for considering Brittany Fitzsimmons for the Animal Control Commission. That'll work out good. We'll at least have some her involved in at the city at some level. So thank you.
Okay, I too want to mention Jan Lindgren. There was between 250 and 300 people attending that memorial service. She was a tremendous Wheat Ridge community supporter, and of course the mother of Cheryl, former Jefferson County school teacher, I'm sure you remember, she was a tall, elegantly dressed woman with a delightful sense of humor, passion for living. At her services, this was great. She was described as knowing how to live well, and while in hospice during her last few weeks and months, her job was she was writing a book, How to Have Fun at Funerals. She was a great lady, really was. I too attended that conference along with a couple of other, the Smart Growth Conference. Wonderful stuff came out of it. Thank you for mentioning it, Christy. I think there's some great stuff in that for our city. And I believe we now have a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to go into an executive session for a conference with the city attorney under Charter Section 5.7B1 and Section 24-6-402 4B CRS, specifically for legal advice from the city attorney and appropriate staff concerning 32nd Avenue construction contracts. I further move to return to the open meeting at the close of the executive session for the purpose of taking any formal action deemed necessary.
I'll second.
We have a second for Mr. Starker. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, let's move into the.
Let's lobby conference room for this session. Thank you.